DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with Keith Eiser. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Live show. We are looking at the Tuesday, was it 6 games, main slate here over on DraftKings. Keith, sort of the theme of end of season NBA is the ever-changing sort of playing time and rosters and injuries. Injuries are a thing that takes part throughout the NBA season. No real news stories there, but the way we see teams handle their lineups at the end of the year, guys on 10-day contracts, we have teams that will play starters half of games. It's kind of been a bit convoluted at times, but there's still plenty of opportunities to make some money here on tonight's slate.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough time of year for sure in the NBA. Definitely have to be paying attention to what's happened most recently because things can definitely change. You've got teams that, like you said, play starters for part of the game, like the Raptors that we're going to talk about. Calendar has flipped to April now, so we're down to 2 weeks, I think, left in the NBA season.
Yep.
Baseball's in full swing, but still some money to be made, so let's get to it.
Definitely. Biggest, I think, news of the day was the midday downgrade for Karl Anthony Towns, listed as questionable now for tonight. They're going up against Philadelphia. Obviously, they're already without Jalen Brunson. That could potentially open up some value plays. Mitchell Robinson's like $3,200. You have Precious Achiuwa down there. Both of those guys would likely split time at the center position. We have Giannis in this matchup against Phoenix. They're without Kevin Durant. I believe Beal is questionable. Beal is questionable. Was active during the morning shoot around, so Phoenix could be getting him back. We already know, obviously, Toronto has ruled out some plays here. Philadelphia's situation, we're waiting on Chicago. Giddey questionable after playing last night. So, again, a lot of news still to come throughout. It's also a 7:30 lock time today, which means an extra half an hour for news to kind of come through. Generally when we do this show, Keith, we'll get an update here or there trickling through around like the 5:30, hour frame here. We may not get that today. But still, like you said, some fun matchups to take a part of here. Giannis and Towns are the two up over 10,000. So it's another slate where not a ton of spend up options. There's plenty of value to get to. So I think where these roster constructions lie will be kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's some strong stuff in the mid-range. So getting all the way up to Giannis, I don't know Lillard, obviously, good matchup against Phoenix, but not completely necessary on this slate just because there's a lot of underpriced guys all throughout the price range. So Giannis is certainly great if you want to get up there. I love the matchup for him, but not required. Towns on the injury report himself, and for some reason hasn't found a ceiling as often as you would expect without Brunson. He was really good a couple of games back, but it hasn't happened as often as you would think without Brunson.
We'll talk about two guys who are having ceilings on New York when we get to the forward positions. Let's get into point guard here. Maxey, of course, out. You have Trae Young against Portland at $9,800. Devin Booker at $97. Maybe Giddey here against Toronto at $96. Quentin Grimes, Steph Curry, John Morant rounding out the 9K range. Grande in the morning show really was in on Trae Young against Portland. Is he your number one guard today?
He is. He's just doing it all. The assists are coming. He's shooting plenty as well. Back-to-back 55-plus fantasy point games for Trae. Good matchup against Portland, a shorthanded Portland team at that. So, yeah, I love this spot for Trae Young. Booker is really interesting as well. No Durant. If Beal misses as well, Booker should just have all the shots available to him. So I think the top two guys are really strong. The price tag on Giddey continues to climb as it should. But we talked about it several times now. He's live for a triple-double every time he goes out there. He's been playing incredible. Awesome matchup for him. If the questionable tags scare some people off, then I think he's a great option to jump on in tournaments.
Yeah, 28 minutes last night because of the blowout. Still nearly triple-doubled in that game. If he plays tonight, you'd expect a bit more of a competitive matchup. Give Giddey an opportunity to really pay off that price tag. The Booker spot is kind of interesting because obviously Milwaukee hasn't been playing great defensively. You're getting Booker at under 10% today. No Durant. I know Beal maybe is supposed to be back here, but you think with the offensive upside of a guy like Devin Booker, where he could, more than likely tonight leading the team in shots in a spot against Milwaukee, there may be a bit more ownership on him, but there's not. You have about 20+% on Trae Young. So if you're in tournaments today, maybe a pivot off down to Booker as the contrarian option could certainly be a way to go there. Where do you sit with Curry versus Ja tonight in that matchup? Morant's come back now 2 games since returning, 31, 34 minutes. Has looked pretty damn good in those matches against the Lakers and the Celtics.
Yeah, I'm not highly interested in either, to be quite honest, despite it being an up-tempo matchup for Golden State here. Memphis plays really fast. They're often a team that we like to target stars against.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick one, it's probably Curry, but Ja just hasn't found a ceiling a ton this season. He's played well since he's come back. Like you said, the minutes are nice to see. But up here at 9K, we really need, 60 fantasy points, and we just haven't seen it that often out of him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Going on into the mid-range, any thoughts here on guys like Daniels, Quickly, Castle, Sharp?
Yeah, Daniels is fine. 7,500, I think, is a fair price for him when you consider all the ways that he can find a ceiling game. Quickly's been playing really well. The matchup against Chicago is interesting. They've been much better defensively here over the second half of the season. Toronto has been doing some weird things with their starters. You're not probably getting 30 minutes out of these guys. So Quickly at 28 minutes, he's still been playing well enough where I think he's definitely in play. I think there's a couple of guys below them on the Portland team, particularly, that I would prefer to go to, but Quickly is fine for sure.
Yeah. The one thing with Quickly, obviously, is Toronto's not playing their starters more than the main guys, more than 30 minutes generally. But he's been really good in sort of the limited spots for him. Value at this position, you have the Milwaukee guards. Obviously, Kevin Porter Jr. have flashed the higher ceiling. Rollins has been getting the minutes. You have those options. Chris Paul's getting some ownership love tonight. We'll see whether or not Cole Anthony is back or not against San Antonio. Could have Anthony Black in that spot. Where do you go for some value at the point guard position today?
Yeah, there's a few options down here. I don't mind the Milwaukee guys. I think Rollins is probably the safer option of the two. KPJ has certainly shown a ceiling at times as well, but Rollins is the one that's been seeing the minutes here. So prefer Rollins of those two. DeLon Wright is certainly interesting. Should start again for Brunson with as shorthanded as the Knicks are. He's played well in his fill-in role here recently. Jamal Shed, another guy who's been playing significant minutes. Think that he's a fine option down in this range.
Shed's a good call because, again, they're not playing Quickly like all these minutes, so Shed's getting those minutes kind of going along with him there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say of the 4,500-ish range, he's probably my favorite. I think he's a little bit higher ceiling than a guy like DeLon Wright and Ryan Rollins. So I like Shed quite a bit.
And then if Anthony Simons ends up not playing today, we have the Delano Banton potential here at $3,300. Played 19 minutes against the Knicks, obviously missed every shot. They've already ruled out Scoot. So there could be just some additional minutes for him anyways. But if Simons gets ruled out, for sure, you'd see some Banton on the floor tonight.
Yeah, I would be totally in on that. Love the matchup here against Atlanta, who plays really fast, not great defensively. I like Simons if he's in there.
Sure.
If he's not, then Banton is one of my highest rostered players, most likely.
Yeah. At shooting guard, again, a lot of these guys have dual positional eligibility. Kobe White certainly would stand out here at $8,400. If Giddey's out, it's probably even a little bit better for White in the sense that the ball will be in his hands a lot more. Might lose a little bit because of how good of a facilitator Giddey is, a really good passer, but you got him at 84, Baines at 84, Wagner 87 as guys we haven't yet kind of crossed over.
Yeah, Kobe White is definitely the guy that stands out here. Has been scoring the basketball at an incredible rate, like among the best in the league. I know he had a really down game in a tough matchup against Oklahoma City last time.
Does that to people,
Exactly. Yep. Not too concerned about it in that matchup. So I think Kobe White goes right back to being the high ceiling guy that we have seen. Bane is the other interesting one. Really low floor here now that Ja's back, but we've seen him fill it up from beyond the arc as well. So don't mind Desmond Bain.
Your the Mikal Bridges is getting some ownership. We talked again, some additional plays here on the Knicks, and if Towns ends up being ruled out, 40 minutes, 38 minutes, 40 minutes, last 3 games, we know they're not coming off the floor, but you're really starting to get a nice scoring upside out of him. 40 plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. The assist numbers have been there of late as well. Bridges could be super popular if Towns ends up getting ruled out tonight.
Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty popular even if Towns does play. Like this matchup against Philly, Philly's just been atrocious on the defensive end. They lost their season basically with the Embiid stuff. Paul George joined him, so Philly in a lost season. Great matchup for the Knicks. Bridges has been playing incredible. We know he's going to be out there for 35 plus minutes, so definitely like that.
The Portland guys are pretty chalky if they play. I mean, Sharp obviously getting ownership here, Simons as well. So both of them are in against Atlanta. Would you have a preference of Sharp versus Simons?
I think Sharp's been the more consistent guy here recently. And historically, that's not been the case. Simons has had the higher ceiling going back earlier this season and definitely in seasons past. But Sharp has been playing just incredible. Yeah. So I lean to Sharp in this case. Just slightly. It's close. Simons, we know, has 50 fantasy point upside, but we just haven't seen it as often this season. With Scoot out, I think that's definitely in play. Yeah. But give me Sharp over Simons.
Yeah, Sharp, again, lately, the scoring has been pretty legit for him, averaging 35 fantasy points over the last 5. The minutes have been rather insane. Knocks down a few more threes here, and we're talking about some bigger performances. So with you on those plays there. I guess we'd see if Kevin Huerter would play or not tonight. He's $5,900. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. Not that I'd play Lonzo Ball, but him being in would certainly impact that rotation. Value-wise, Jacoby Walter's the highest projected rostered shooting guard. That's probably because he has the small forward eligibility as well. But the minutes have been really good. They already ruled out RJ Barrett here. Again, Chicago, not a good defensive team. Buying in on the Jacoby Walter chalk?
Yeah, I am. It's hard to trust the minutes with what Toronto has been doing, but I think they continue to limit Scotty Barnes. They've ruled out Barrett, like you said. Quickly isn't playing 30 minutes, so I'm pretty sure there's a path to 30-plus minutes here for Jacoby Walter, and you have to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, he's coming in over 30% right now, so definitely a lot of people in on that just for the value standpoint. Any other shooting guards for you here?
Kind of drops off after that. Lonnie Walker's an interesting name. We'll see what Philly does with their lineup. Played 36 minutes last time out. I don't think we can expect that again, but if he's in the starting lineup, then it's certainly interesting. Dalen Terry started last game.
I think he's
interesting if that happens again.
He's the one we have to kind of worry about if people are back in their lineup, if he would start again.
Yeah. If Ball and Huerter are both active, I think that Terry is definitely out, but there's a path where he finds his way into the starting lineup again if both of those guys are out.
And obviously an easier matchup for him to be productive. OKC again, tough spot. Still came through with 16 fantasy points at 35. Against Toronto, you'd feel like another 20-plus fantasy point game could be there for him if he got the minutes. Small forward, moving over again. A lot of these guys have dual positional eligibility, but you have Jimmy Butler, you have Scotty Barnes, Josh Hart. Denny has been destroying. He is the second highest projected rostered small forward today. On a slate where there aren't many spend ups, you got a guy like Denny that's giving you 40, 50, and 60 fantasy points lately.
Yeah, Denny's been absolutely incredible. He's going to play a ton of minutes. We see that every time that Jeremy Grant's out, he's live for 38 plus minutes. Same with OG Anunoby right below him in the salary range. So going up to a guy like Franz is not on my list today. Jimmy's been really good for Golden State. So if you want to go there, I certainly would not talk you off of that. But I think between Denny and OG, you have two really strong mid.
Yeah, I've been team OG a lot this year. And obviously this stretch here is more than I think we've ever would have expected out of Anunoby. But insane scoring ceiling, 35-28, 31-28 actual points being scored in those games. It's pretty ridiculous. You add in what he can do defensively. If you take Towns off the floor tonight, they're going to be replacing him with someone like a Mitchell Robinson or Precious Achiuwa. Those are not offensive first players. So more shot attempts could be going to the wings here. And I like OG. I'm probably playing both Denny and OG in lineups for me tonight. I also think, again, you can go with Kyle Kuzma. Giannis is potentially there tonight, probable to play, but if something was to happen where they just don't play him because Phoenix is also shorthanded, Kuzma's been good the last couple of games. 8 of 17, 8 of 16 shooting against the Knicks in Atlanta. You're getting over 30 fantasy points for him in those two spots.
Yeah, big time minutes for Kuzma as well. Has found a role without Lillard where he's more comfortable, and he's kind of comfortable being that shooter, and he's finding more shots without Lillard. So don't mind that at
You're
all.
currently projected highest rostered small forward today is Royce O'Neal. Now he too is questionable. If he gets ruled out, we'd probably then look at maybe like a Grayson Allen or something like that potentially as a guy that gets a bump in minutes here. But obviously without Kevin Durant, O'Neal expected to get a bump in minutes. I have to assume ownership has him around 35% tonight. If O'Neal is in starting, do we have interest here?
Don't feel great about that at the ownership number. He can be a very low per minute guy. I don't feel necessarily comfortable, even if he's starting, about the minutes, especially with the presence of a guy like Ryan Dunn. Sure. Like, who knows what Phoenix is going to do with their rotation now that Durant's down. Their season's kind of over. So wouldn't surprise me for them to do some funky things with the rotation here. So really skeptical of the O'Neal
chalk. Chase the Ricochet game, 36 actual in that game against Milwaukee, against Portland here tonight at 4,500.
Yeah, I'd be more apt to do something like that than play a 30% on Royce O'Neal. He's been really inconsistent, but he has flashed that high ceiling at times. I don't know where the minutes came from is the thing. Like, it's hard to trust that he's going to play 30 plus minutes when he's been sitting around 25 the entire season. But to know that it's in there, I think is worth a shot in tournaments.
Final weeks of the season, like, they should just be pushing this kid to play as many minutes as possible. I never understand.
You would think so.
Never understand the limitations there. And then Julian, this is Julian, I think, right? Julian on the Spurs, Justin on the Spurs.
Yes, Julian.
Minutes for him, 26 in that last game, 27. It was the blowout, obviously aided there, but he's coming in around like 13 or 14% tonight. That could certainly go away once roster lock comes and a little bit more clarity here. But $3,300, are you taking a stab on Champagnie tonight?
Yeah, I'm good with that. It's a really tough matchup against Orlando. Definitely a team we like to avoid, but with the price tag, like, there's a lot of value in the 4K range. There's not a ton in way down in 3K. So if you need that extra $500-800 of savings or whatever, Champagnie is certainly a guy I don't mind going to.
Power forward. Again, here's Giannis up the top. If you're looking to spend up tonight in terms of ownership, it is Giannis as your top owned spend up of the day. Coming up in over 25%. Great matchup here against Phoenix. Another guy, though, like, we know what he can give you for a ceiling, but at 12K, you need 60 plus fantasy points just for 5X. A couple of those games on the board, but far fewer 60 plus fantasy point games out of Giannis here tonight. Does he get there? Does he pay off this price tag for you tonight?
Yeah, kind of like Towns. Like, without Lillard, you'd expect Giannis to be out there putting up 60 every single night, and it just has not happened. The matchup we've talked about is fantastic. Phoenix has been really lacking on the defensive end. Now they're without Kevin Durant. Like, it's a fantastic spot for Giannis. But where has the ceiling been is the question. It seems like an obvious play today. Awesome matchup.
Yeah, to me, it almost feels like you plug him in with the field, right? And then, like, you just take whatever he gives you because the field is also taking whatever he gives you and you're building around him. But fading him, could be the difference if he only gives you a 50 fantasy point game and you're playing Paolo instead for 3K less or something like that. He gets that matchup against San Antonio tonight, $9,900. Again, we've seen him give you 50 plus pretty often as well here. Do you like this spot for Banchero?
I do. San Antonio has been one of the worst defensive teams in the league since Wemby went down. So definitely like this spot for him. Has been showing that ceiling off recently, playing huge minutes in the upper 30s. So definitely like the spot for power.
Where else would you look to go at power forward? Again, I know some of these guys have that dual eligibility, but anybody we haven't highlighted in this top half yet that you're interested in playing?
Nobody's playing Triple J. He's a guy that can always find a ceiling. He can always find foul trouble as well. So definitely a high risk play. But don't mind chasing a little ceiling.
I don't know where
there.
15 rebounds came against Boston, but I wish we'd see that more often.
Yeah, like, he seems like a guy that should be able to do that night in and night out, and he doesn't do that. He's not that aggressive on the glass. But Draymond Green's been playing awesome this season. Don't mind that. Has been down a little bit with the return of Kuminga and some other guys. Hasn't been playing a ton of minutes, but if he can find 30 minutes, I think Draymond is fine. Edwards has been playing a lot of minutes for Philly. Don't mind chasing that a little bit especially if you want a run back on the other side of somebody like OG, who's a little bit chalkier. Edwards could be a lower owned option.
Keldon Johnson, much so in the way of like Champagne, a guy that's going to play. You know, Keldon obviously has more of a minutes ceiling and floor than Champagne does, but we just got 34 minutes with him against Boston, had 35 fantasy points, 27 and 21, 35 and 27. If they give him this like 20 plus range, like you could get some good production. I understand how slow pace it's going to be against Orlando there, but could go there. And then your Mobo is where ownership is of the guys we haven't discussed. He's around 20% tonight. Another guy playing in the mid-20s for the Raptors, but being pretty effective when on the floor.
Yeah, Mobo's been really good from a per minute perspective. I don't feel super comfortable about that. I prefer his front court mate that we'll get to in a bit here at the next position. But at 4,100, I think he's certainly worth the dice roll. That you have to feel good about the minutes. I mean, like you said, we don't know exactly what Toronto's doing, but it's been consistently around 23, 24 minutes for Mobo. So definitely feel good about that. Keldon, I like as well. Has just been shooting the ball really, really well. Has a nice ceiling here. Minutes are not going to be fantastic, probably mid-20s minutes for him, but certainly don't mind that.
And then Bazulis, again, of anybody on OKC last night, gets the blowout run, played 31 minutes. Back-to-back good games for him. Again, he had a ceiling game against Dallas, but Toronto could certainly present the opportunity for a ceiling-type performance. Love seeing him over 30 minutes in back-to-back games here. If they're missing anybody, feels like that would be locked in for him again. Good shooter, we know that, but now starting to see other stats kind of populate for him here, really making him an interesting GPP play tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything bad about what we've seen from him recently. The minutes are the most encouraging thing, I would say, and then the peripherals as well, as you mentioned. So it's a riskier play, I think, than somebody like Mobo. Mobo probably has a safer floor, but man, if Buzelis continues to do this, that looks really good at 5K.
Funky $40 wants to know thoughts on Pat Williams as a GB flyer. Got up to 29 minutes last night against the Thunder there.
Yeah, another guy who seems to be finding his way into a little bit better role. Herter was out, so I think that did have a little bit of an impact. If Herter's back, and especially if Lonzo Ball joins him as active, then it gets really dicey for Patrick Williams. I think a risky play, but if you're looking for a low-owned option, I don't hate it.
I agree. Okay, going to center again. It felt like Towns was the play we were going to do in the morning show, but now he is questionable to go tonight. So if Towns does not suit up, they're obviously going to have to go down and play this mid-tier. If Towns does play, I still feel like I want to go to Karl-Anthony Towns here, knowing what his ceiling could be. All the metrics suggest he's in a great spot. It's like 1.4 fantasy points per minute. It's a usage rate over 30% without Jalen Brunson on the floor. Philadelphia is going to go at Adembona and Yerchan Yabusele at center, like advantage Towns in those spots. So everything's looking great for Towns, but that midday downgrade obviously makes it seem like maybe he won't play. If we're not going Towns, where do you want to find ourselves here at the center spot?
Yeah, love this matchup for Towns. If they run Yabusele out there as the starter, then Towns has a massive size advantage. If it's Bona, then he has a massive athleticism advantage. So definitely it's going to swing in Towns' favor no matter what lineup Philly throws out there. They just don't really have anyone to slow him down. So if he's active, he looks really good in the spot. If he's not, then I think you go down into this 6 and 7K range. Pirtle is the guy that I have highlighted here for sure. Again, the minutes are a little bit concerning. I talked about Chicago's kind of step forward a little bit in defensive rating here over the past month or so. They still struggle on the interior. They allow the most points in the paint in the NBA. Pirtle has been smashing in limited minutes recently, and this is just another spot where he should absolutely smash. Even if he only gets 25 minutes in the spot, I think he looks really good at this.
I agree. Donovan Clingan is where the chalk is tonight. He's around 35%. Again, not a great offensive player. Can give you defense, can give you rebounds. Portland's just very short-handed, obviously. Do you like the Klingon play? Are you going to let the field sort of, take the ownership there?
I don't mind it. I certainly see the reasoning for it. Atlanta has struggled against bigs as well, but I don't trust the minutes for one. He hasn't been great even when he's gotten minutes recently. That last game against the Knicks, he played over 30 minutes and couldn't find 20 fantasy points. So, but at the same time, he has 20 rebound upside. So I understand the ownership. I don't think I need to try and get overweight the field on him if he's gonna catch ownership though. I would rather go down to a guy like Bona, save a little bit of money. If he's in the starting lineup, maybe he catches some popularity. But I think the ceiling for Bona is pretty good.
Yeah,
too.
I like Bona. Again, even if Yabusele's in, like he's still gonna have a role. As a backup center. At times they've started Yabusele next to Bona as well, which could be in play tonight. So I like that. And then of course, if Towns gets ruled out, you're gonna have Mitchell Robinson. The minutes have been limited, but he did give you a 24-minute game against Miami. So like that could be the ceiling for him there. Back-to-back 30 fantasy point games in that little stretch. He's can be a high fantasy point per minute player. 10 rebounds against Milwaukee in 18 minutes there. We know he can block some shots. And then you have Precious Achua as well, who maybe is only power forward. No, there he is right here. $3,300 for Achua. Could also get some additional run there. We know how productive he has been when playing. Do you find yourself being attracted to whichever play starts for New York if there's no Towns tonight?
Yeah, definitely. So the Robinson thing, like you said, I think there's a ceiling of low 20s minutes. Like he's not going to play any more than 24, I don't think. Even if he starts. So don't be expecting 30 minutes from Mitchell Robinson. He's a high permanent producer, like you mentioned, so don't worry about that. If Towns is out, I'm interested in Robinson. He can get there with double-digit rebounds. He can get there with 4 or 5 blocks as well. So definitely into that. Achua is a tougher conversation. He's been good when he gets the minutes, but you are concerned if he's going to get the minutes is the biggest thing. If he's in the starting lineup, I would be locking him in. All systems go. I think he's totally fine. He kind of has to play if Towns is out, though. You would think. So I feel I will have exposure if Towns is out. You feel better if he's starting, but who knows what they're going to do with the lineup there.
Agreed with you there. All right. Let's get ahead and get a lineup built for everybody here. Where do we want to begin things tonight?
Let's see. Trae Young is one of my favorite options. If you want to start in the mid range, a guy like OG Anunoby would be. I think we can just plug those two guys in and start there if you want to do that.
Anthony DeLon Wright should be the starting guard here for the Knicks tonight. Given the injuries, he's been the one playing over 30 minutes the last couple of games there. Pretty cheap for Wright, $4,400. Again, if you wanted to get that, you could. Where did we settle in on value tonight? What were some of our favorite value plays for the day today?
Yeah, lots of options right around 4K.
Got the Toronto
Ryan
plays,
Rollins. Yeah. Jamal Shed, I definitely feel good about.
Would you rather Shed or Rollins if you had to pick one?
I think I'd lean Rollins slightly. That's a close one. They've both been pretty good here recently.
Maybe Walter's been getting some run there. Get our cheap Toronto play. So it's 61-25. You get Denny in the lineup. Denny's been really good.
Yep. Denny's a guy I really like tonight. Pirtle is another one that I really like tonight.
Pirtle 66. That gives us 49. So about 5K for forward and a util.
Yeah. If Simons gets ruled out, Banton is certainly going to be a guy that I look at. But we kind of need to wait for the news. All the games start within a half an hour of each other, so we should have all the news by lock here. But Banton is definitely a guy I have in my back pocket to be ready to just pour into lineups if Simons gets ruled out.
Bazulis, and then $4,800 util.
Shaden Sharp is a guy that I like a ton tonight that we didn't get. We don't have enough room for him with this build, but just wanted to mention
Sharp was where is he? Guard only, right? For Sharp.
Yeah, point guard, shooting guard, I believe.
I'm just blanking on his face here. Sharp. So 67. That goes. Yeah, we need a min price forward if we did that, which I don't think we have.
Nope, not
Doug thinking Young is going to struggle with Kamara defense. Certainly possible. I mean, again, obviously, Tamani Kamara is a really good defender. We know that. On the flip side of that matchup, Dyson Daniels is going to be on either Simons or Sharp in that same spot. So they're, defensive one-on-one matchups could be a problem. Jonathan Kuminga ruled out tonight. So we do have that news coming through for the Golden State Warriors.
I think that's a nice bump to Draymond. And on the Trae Young thing, the good thing about him is he's willing to facilitate as well. So if he is not able to find his shots, he's live for like 20 assists. So yep. I wouldn't be too concerned about an individual matchup with Trae Young.
Yep. And we talked about it, like there's certainly pivots down. He says he'd rather play Giddey if he plays. Giddey versus Toronto would obviously be a great spot. Yeah, I still think Booker for no ownership tonight as a pivot down, I think is also in play. Coach Chris saying Guy Santos potentially in some value now without Kuminga as a possible option for us there. Let's see. Go back to Bazulis, and then we have $4,800 for a util.
How much was Keldon Johnson? I think he fits. No, he was 5, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit more expensive. Yeah. Let's see. Can we move off of? Let's see. Actually, we go Bridges. I think Bridges is a little bit cheaper. Bridges is a little bit cheaper there. That gives us a 52 util. 52 be Keldon if you wanted to get it there. So
yeah, or Sohan is right there too. He's been starting and playing big minutes, so I don't mind Sohan either.
Or one of the two there. Sohan. They started. What was it? Didn't they do Biombo the other day? But then they ruled him inactive, right, for this game.
Yeah, with Bassey coming back, I think he was inactive. So
yeah.
Is Bassey even on the injury report?
Bassey is out.
Okay. So, yeah.
That works.
I think Sohan's minutes look really comfortable then in this situation. So,
right. Example lineups. Any other power forwards that we like tonight? There were a few. Denny, obviously, up at the top. Liked OG Anunoby. We're more in on Draymond Green now that Kuminga is out. Jonathan Kuzma at 65. We were playing sort of in the mid-tier for value. Keldon, Rishishe, Bazulis, Mobo was fine as well. So there's a lot of power forwards that I think could go here for tonight's slate. But an example lineup for everybody here tonight: Trae Young, Jacoby Walter, Mikal Bridges, Denny Avdia, Jakob Poeltl, Ryan Rollins, Matas Bazulis, and Jeremy Sohan to give you guys all a look. Again, we have a 7:30 roster lock. Justin Carlucci's Playbooks live at Fantasy Alarm. You can go check that out for free with our 7-day free trial, fantasyalarm.com/win. You can get in that Discord. Stay tuned for all of the lineup news and notes that are coming down. Should get that information within a half an hour of roster lock. So around 7 o'clock, we'll get those starting lineups for everybody. We'll be back with a preview show tonight and a live show tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.